We alkalize to realize the body is the temple, water is the source of life. We breathe in life and then we synthesize. This liquid sun will free your glands and begin to decalcify. Peer through your third eye, see through the lies and give your body what it's missing. We dehydrated, and that's the human condition. But when you clean the body and believe the body, you set yourself up to receive the body. See, it's a sharp knife, that's the water of life. It's like a sword cutting parasites down the sides. It takes a certain kind of faith to know that you're divine. And if it comes from urethra, then it's alkaline. We serve in truth, and it don't matter how weird it really gets. It's the linchpin ascended masters to initiates. We alkalize to realize. Open your mind and find you had it inside this whole damn time. We alkalize to realize. Open your mind and find you had it inside this whole damn time. You had it inside this whole damn time. Ourselves, all right? Okay. So welcome to Alkalize to Realize. I am your host, Gerald Guevara, or Coach Jeezy, and today we have Mark Steele here with us, who has spent over 30 years in research and development projects pertaining to weaponry. He has a background in material science, and he's also a patent writer and inventor of different products having to do with weapon systems, and interestingly, microwave and optical wave radiation mitigation products. Very interesting, Mark. I'll let you take it away. How'd you get into all of this stuff?
Well, obviously, I've got a background in the 80s. I worked in a secret weapons facility in Scotland, and so I knew of RF weapon systems. We're working with some very, very heavy-duty equipment there. Something I can't go into because obviously that would be covered under the Official Secrets Act. Mm-hmm. So I'll never betray confidence. But what I'm going to tell you is that I left and I went into the oil and gas industry. I've got a material sciences background. I went into the oil and gas industry, and obviously I then started to invent products and mitigation products, and I came up with the optical waveguide that was then installed into pilot helmets, motorsports helmets so that people could actually see behind them, but also so that they could see electronic information. Now, the reason for that is on the battlefield, there's a lot of microwave radiation weapons, basically radar, what people class as radar, but the radar systems actually double up. They're not just radar, they're basically weapon systems and can harm. In fact, people would be appalled if I told them it was a 2.5 gigahertz weapon that was used against the US Embassy in Moscow, where a significant number of embassy staff got sick. 3 ambassadors developed cancers. 2 of them died. 1 of them became very sick, went back to the US. He also succumbed to the cancer and died. So that just puts to one side the fact that this radiation, this non-ionizing radiation, as some scientists will tell you, is not and doesn't have enough power in that particular part of the spectrum. It is complete and total hogwash. The weapons deployments are basically, they're sub-gigahertz to about 10 gigahertz. That's the sweet spot for weaponry. That's in the non-ionizing radiation part of the spectrum. So if anybody tells me that non-ionizing radiation is not hazardous, it is absolutely garbage. It's so ridiculous. Now, what happens, scientists will reference non-ionizing radiation in its natural form, which obviously non-ionizing radiation in its natural form is immersive. It's basically from the sun, from the ground, and from a number of other different emission systems. But that's immersive. Microwave radiation and electronic radiation weapon systems are pulse modulated. And how you change the characteristics of that, you use different types of antenna design. So once you start to collimate and focus signals, that increases the energy. To try and put everybody at ease, if you look at a laser operates in the non-ionizing radiation part of the spectrum, uses the terahertz range. A maser uses the microwave radiation spectrum, which is 300 megahertz to 300 gigahertz. That's a maser. You then have a laser. A laser uses the terahertz range. With a laser, you can cut stainless steel with a laser. Anybody that understands anything about material sciences will understand that stainless steel is a very, very hard material. So that's why I can tell everybody, anybody tells me that this is non-ionizing radiation, that only applies in its natural state. Once you actually start to focus, collimate, bring those frequency beam waves together, that's when it becomes a potential weapon, or something you may want to cut a material with, or somebody you might want to chop somebody in half with, or you want to set fire to somebody or something.
Now does 5G is there a connection here with the 5G and the ability to do those things you just said?
Absolutely. The main, there's a number of technical parameters of 5G. What I'm going to say to everybody, which they'll find unbelievable, 5G in all its technical parameters is a weapons system. It is not, absolutely not, for telecommunications. That is a masquerade. 5G, specifically the technical parameter for 5G, I'm going to go through a couple of them first. One's densification, means more, a lot more. So the more transmitters you have in a densely populated area, so that could be it could be phone systems, telecommunication systems. That's part of 5G deployment, because the more microwave radiation emitters are getting in a close, densified area, the more toxic that area will become, because these aren't natural occurring radiation frequencies. These are man-made. So they use saw waves, pulse waves, the square waves. There's a lots of different types of characteristics, the quadrature amplitude modulation of these signals, where you actually put the data, the ones and zeros, that's what makes it far more toxic. Now, I can use it as a signal system, but I can also collimate and focus signals to use them as a weapon. 5G, the antenna design specifically, it's the main technical parameter of the specific technical parameter for 5G is the collimation, the beam forming characteristics of the antenna, or the antenna can collimate a signal by using what's called a dielectric. It's a signal like a beam. Mm-hmm. Now, it doesn't act exactly the same as a laser, but for the layman, because obviously if I was going to show you the image of that type of radiation, then it's a little bit more erratic. It's a lot more erratic than what a laser would be. So where you'll see a laser light, you can actually fire it directly at a point. Where you use a maser, you get a spleen of the radiation emission, which makes it far more dangerous because you can't exactly point it at a thing. So this nonsense about it being used for mobile phones is a complete and utter fraud. Now, I'm not saying that people aren't going to try and use them for mobile phones, but believe you me, if I got between a 5G handset and an antenna that's collimating a microwave radiation signal, and I was oriented through that way it was going through my phone, it'll probably give you brain injury, stroke, brain injury, could possibly kill you immediately. All depends on the amount of power, the microwave radiation power that travels directly through your head. One of the things I want to tell people, 5G is not millimeter waves. The industry are proposing to use millimeter waves as part of the spectrum dominance of 5G, but 5G starts in the sub-gigahertz range, 600 megahertz, 700 megahertz, 800 megahertz. Now, the reason for that in the sub-gigahertz range, it's very, very good for long range, 1,000 miles. Actually bounce it off the ionosphere. There's lots of ways that you can use this as a signal system where I'm gathering data, but I can also, if you look at any of the weapon systems off the battlefield, they'll say that they're non-lethal. These are non-lethal weapons. That is a complete and utter falsehood. These are lethal weapons. They've got them. I mean, I saw a picture the other day with some police that looked like the FBI, where they had a antenna system, what we call a radiator. They've got multiple antennas, small elements built into the antenna. So you've got an array of different elements, and what they do, they use what's called an offset signal. So they punch out what's called a beam wave. Now that beam wave, depending on its capability and its frequency, depends how much I can kill and how far I can kill and the distance I can actually fire a signal. These are weapon systems. That's what 5G is. In every technical parameter. It's a weapon. It is not, I'm going to say it again because people keep thinking, they keep listening to the mainstream narrative, faster downloads. You get in between that faster download, believers, and you're going to be in serious trouble. And not only that, in the sub-gigahertz range, I can fire you through concrete, I can see you through walls. Now, I've looked at a number of the technologies that are out there. The equipment to kill is absolutely definite. So where, let's see, if I wanted to scan you, a 12-volt radar scanner outside your home, and I can see you in your home. The antennas in the street lights have got 450-volt capacitors. Your mobile phone operates on 2.5 to 3.5 volt battery, where you've got this massive amount of power from a main supply, which it's been boosted up onto an antenna board to deliver a switch. There's a switching system that allows a 3,000 watt to fire a 3,300 watt signal through that antenna. Now, obviously, depends what the software, the software would allow, but again, has the capacity to kill and kill en masse. So that's what I'm saying to people. So the overcapacity in your smart meter, the overcapacity in all of your smart devices, if you look at all the smart devices, they all have remote access. So no matter, you can switch them off and come in remotely and switch them back on. And what I'm going to say to people, if I came into a building and I switched all those smart meters on and all those smart devices all at the same time, because this is a proposal for 5G, you're going to have a smart fridge, smart cooker, everything's going to be smart, everything's going to be connected. I can switch all those devices on, I can increase the power density, the frequencies in a building, and then what I can do, I can fire what's called an EMP, an overburden of energy, and I'll take your house down. So I'll take your house down, I'll vaporize you, I'll take you out, I'll take your cityscape out, and that's what they're currently building. The plan is to build smart cities. They are kill grids. Not only will they gas the people, you only need, you need about 20 electrical charge air. Charge there is noxious. You can charge some air, oxygen, for instance, at 6 electron volts. So you can charge the air, positively charge it. That makes it noxious. That makes it toxic to breathe. That means it's a gas. And I can gas the population with this densification of these transmitters in near localities. And I've got the pictures for Glasgow, a proposal, it's in the north part of the United Kingdom in Scotland. It's one of the largest cities. In fact, it's the largest city in Scotland. And I've actually got the kill grid, the densification of the large MIMO tanks, and they will kill in that city. And I've got the document.
Wow. Wow. So what this just sounds like is just a preemptive attack to increase the capabilities before we realize what it is. And so they're just masquerading with this whole idea of we're going to get better phone signal. Meanwhile, they're basically beefing up systems to create this just higher level of control and this higher level of capability to unimaginable weaponry, really. Just based on
people say to me that 5G is all about social control, social credits. What I'm going to tell people, that's a myth. Your government think it's for something so they can spy on you, so they can see you. What I'm going to tell people, that's not correct. The capacity and the equipment is here to kill. It's to cause bodily harm. It's a weapon. The definition of a weapon is something that's been designed to cause bodily harm. I can tell everybody, these LED streetlights that they've put out, where they're up like that, operates in the terahertz range. It's a point source light, basically a laser. They're putting these in the streets. They'll kill pollinators, the 450 nanometers frequency specific to kill fruit flies, any type of pollen anywhere near those LED streetlights. So that's part of the spectrum dominance plan for kill grid, because that's exactly what 5G is. 5G incorporates the LED streetlight deployment, and it's so that I can get these micro cells on every single streetlight. You've got a mains power supply. So you've got tens of thousands. I live in a place in Gateshead where we have 31,875 micro cells built into streetlights. The LED streetlights are toxic. They're in breach of the Nuremberg Code. It is an illegal fitment, and it is an illegal weapon system because it's been designed to cause bodily harm. And the definition of a weapon is something that's been designed to cause bodily harm. These LED streetlight systems are not there, that only masquerading as a streetlight.
Wow.
I can tell by the lens, the way that they've been built, the way they've been designed, they've been designed to cause harm to the environment, but also harm to the person. We'll have the evidence. The 450 nanometers is retinal and retina cell toxic, so that will blind people. It also damages any photosensitive cells in the skin, so it stops your production of vitamin E. It's a melatonin disruptor, so that reduces your ability to repair, and also so that increases the cancer risk. And these radiation emissions are cumulative. They're cumulative, so it builds up over time. So you're going to see more people die. We're starting to see right across the West significant increases in mortality in the US, in the UK. Populations are starting to drop. It's one of the reasons why there's a lot of immigration, basically to backfit the crime that's already been committed, because they're already starting to see the indigenous populations of the US, of the UK, right across the world starting to collapse. Doing that back immigration, because obviously people will notice if you go into the shops and there's nobody there. If you go in the house, people see that the mortality rates are starting to significantly increase. And this is from the current exposures. The exposure to this type of radiation and the potential for you to die could be 15 to 20 years out. What we're already seeing is significant increases in mortality, non-communicable and communicable diseases right across the West. We're seeing significant increases. We're seeing massive increases in health issues. The microwave radiation, unfortunately, passes through the head, damages the blood-brain barrier, damages your ability to cell function in the brain, and this leads to anxiety. One of the reasons why veterans coming back from where they've been exposed to, these offset phase signals, the same on top of buildings now, where they're offset signals, they're beam forming, it's radar. that radar will cause brain injury, neurological disorders. Basically, people will start committing suicide.
Yes.
As well as, yeah, well, in Gateshead, from 2014 to 16, we had a 23% increase in stroke mortality. 23%. And the governments are looking at each other and going, I wonder how this has happened. We've got the largest in the northeast where I live in England, where we had this experimental, illegal, uninsurable technology fitted by the local authority. Incidents of infant mortality, and the medical community are asking the question why, because it's unexplainable. You can't explain it. Well, I can explain it. The local authorities have fitted illegal technology in the streets that I can prove in any court in the land and any court in the world. Genocide, where they're trying to commit genocide on the people of this world. It's not just, you know, the United States, Europe. We've got the same technology. Wuhan province was a test bed for 5G. Now, see this coronavirus. 5G is an immune system suppressor because it's a stressor. It's microwave radiation suppressor, so it suppresses the immune system, and that'll leave you open to any sort of illness. It increases the risk of any, you know, even just a common cold could potentially kill you because it's already destroyed your immune system. So if you get anything, you're going to be in serious trouble. That's what 5G is. Now, the other interesting thing, corona. They call it the coronavirus. Well, a corona is the energy field, that's emitted. It's the emergent energy field that's emitted from a beam wave from a 5G antenna. So 5G antennas emit corona, and all of a sudden we've got the coronavirus that's supposedly causing all this death in China. Now, so I'm not saying about using.
Would you say the coronavirus is being like pulsated to the China, because they were protesting in mass just a few weeks ago, and now they're getting sick. So is this just a military action being disguised as a virus?
It could be. The problem with China, you can't believe anything that's in the mainstream media, because obviously it's a very, very controlled space. This is what happens when you live in a country that's a communist country. You know, they've got total control of the media. I mean, they've got control of the media in the West, but they've got total control of the media in China. And consequently, you cannot really rely on anything that's coming out of there, but it's starting to look pretty damning from everything that we're starting to see. Unless it's totally fake, it's looking very, very much like the 5G deployment in Wuhan province is, as a matter of fact, the cause of the immune suppressor. We know it's an immune suppressor. The science says that. So obviously, if I was to enter any bioweapon, like this coronavirus was weaponized, you take that into any environment, and consequently, what's going to happen? People are going to die en masse, and that's what it's starting to look like.
Okay, got it. Wuhan and weaponized 5G. Wow. So can we talk about like defense? Like, how would the average person first educate themselves about it? Like, is there any educational resources other than like doing your own research? And what are some physical defenses we can apply?
The best form of defense is offense. I'll tell you that because I'm a weapon systems expert. All right. The best form of defense is offense. We must go on the offensive. I spoke to a guy who's built built a Faraday cage in his home. He lives in it. Obviously, he can't live outside of it. He's susceptible to this type of radiation, where he's got skin burns, he's got neurological disorders, so he has to live in this cage. And he said, he was basically proffering that as a fix to this problem. Well, who wants to put themselves in a prison just because your government is out of control, because your government's been run by psychopathic criminals? Why would you want to put yourself? What I'm saying to people today, go on the offensive. The offensive actions that we've taken in Gateshead Council are now removing the multi-million weapons, target acquiring weapon system that they have in the lights. All right, they're removing it because there's far too many people are starting to wake up to what's really happened in this illegal deployment of the equipment. And unfortunately for the councils and others, they didn't think anybody would have worked it out. It took me a while to work it out. I mean, like I said, I had a number of women came to me in about end of 2016. They were complaining of nosebleeds after these LED streetlights had been put in. Now I know the 450 nanometers, it can't travel through a brickwork concrete, through, you know, thick curtains. So consequently, that's not going to give you a nosebleed.
Mm-hmm.
It was on investigation when I got a meet and I started measuring the levels of radiation in people's bedrooms. I realised that this transmitter that was actually situated on the top of the streetlight furniture was in fact some very, very toxic piece of equipment. And that's because of the levels of radiation that were being measured in people's bedrooms. It wasn't until I physically got a couple of these devices. One was given to me and I had some sent to me. And then I started investigating what they actually were. And I was horrified to see that these antennas, these illegal antennas, the high gain antenna, actually had what's called small dielectric lenses, dews, or a lens, what I call a dewdrop. It looks just like a dewdrop, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
And that dewdrop allows me to collimate a signal, target acquire, so I can target acquire, I can see a target, and I can shoot the signal directly at target and do them some significant bodily harm.
Wow. Okay, so another question I have is there's this growing movement of people who are kind of like, they're like guerrilla activists, right? And they're going around and using something like called Orgone technology, and they're like placing them around the 5G towers and maybe even burying them in the ground around the 5G towers. Is there any legitimacy to using this technology to mitigate the frequencies, or
Absolutely. There's lots of mitigating technologies out there. There's wave cancellation technologies, lots of things out there. However, I always caution people, if we have governments who want to kill a larger proportion of the populations across the world, I think it's about time that we remove them from that post.
Yeah.
Trying to protect ourselves from these psychopaths.
Yeah.
Is not a good strategy at all. And it's something, yes, in the interim, people can be thinking about that. There are mitigating technologies, but what I always say to people, go on the offensive, wake up others. We are on the move. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately for the cabal, whoever's behind this outrageous attack on our peoples, we are far too early. We're far too early. And what's quite interesting, the attack in China, that's most certainly what it is. It's an attack on the people in China. What's going to happen there? I think you're going to start to see the Chinese people rise up against the controlling state apparatus. They've already got a serious problem. They've got a number of ports shut down, so the economy in China is starting to collapse. We'll start to see that across the world. Get spread around, and I believe that the 5G integration, whether it's the signal system of 5G where they're activating this biological weapon, because you can do that, metal carriers can be activated with this type of system. What they're putting in the air, we don't know what they're putting in the water, we don't know what they're putting in the food, but somebody's got a plan to kill en masse billions of the world's population. And what I'm saying to people, go on the offensive. Because sitting back and allowing these criminals to just come up and kill you, well, who would want to do that?
Yeah. So we're talking about activating politically, right? Like gaining awareness, maybe organizing, protesting, things like that.
Well, protests, not what I'm going to say to people. Legal action. There's a number of legal actions going on in the US. I'm telling everybody, support those legal actions. If you know people who have the resources take legal action. Take legal actions. The courts, unfortunately for the cabal, they haven't dismantled the legal system not enough for this to go forward, because we are far too early. We're far too early. I did a video, the 5G Apocalypse documentary program in 2017, and I was invited to go to London. A guy called Sasha Stone did this fantastic this documentary on 5G, and that I was to thousands of people all over the world. It's been seen by millions and millions. I think Anonymous posted it. It had 1 million views. It got took down. They posted it again. It got another 1 million views. The Sash videos had tens of millions of views all over the world because it's been translated into lots of different languages. So there are millions of people out there who now know what 5G is, what it's capable of. I mean, to be fair, they don't understand how horrifying and how capable this equipment is to do harm. But we've got geoengineering weapon systems that are being used against us. Australia, for instance, that's a weather weapon system where they've basically burnt the farmers off the ground, you know, created a drought, created a false drought, burnt them off the land, you know, for some inexplicable reason. We are under attack, and it's up to people to wake up, do that research. And what I'm saying, watch the 5G Apocalypse documentary by all means. Follow some of my videos. You know, I do a number of videos where taking action with the police here. The police are ignoring the assault, this genocide. They're ignoring it, but unfortunately for them, they haven't got the systems. This isn't China. We don't live in a communist state, and there is a semblance of the legal system still in place. So we, like I said, we're too early. So it is incumbent on everybody who listens to this, you know, me speaking, to do that research and really get active, really get active, because believers, you're fighting for your life. You are fighting for your life, for your future, for your kids, for your environment. These microwave radiation transmitters kill all pollinators. If those pollinators are all wiped out, we starve.
They kill pollinators, so they kill the bees. They kill the bees and the birds.
Bees are affected at about 30 millivolts. At 30 millivolts, you'll stress small pollinators. The LEDs will kill them. AMA, the Medical Association, in 2016 did a fantastic report on the dangers of LED street lighting. Anybody can go out and read it. This shows the horrifying, reckless deployment of this type of equipment by your local authorities. They were warned. The regulatory bodies, ANSI, AMA, Public Health England, have all warned of the retinal cell damage where these LEDs, these blue phosphor-coated pulse modulated LEDs, will blind the population. And that's all part of the plan. It's all part of this electrification scam. You know, the electrification where you've got electric cars. Electric cars are dangerous. They're dangerous. If you sit in an electric car, you've got a magnetic flux from the motor and the battery. Now, as that speed up...
Did you say electric
cars are lethal. Electric cars have only been tested for immersion up to 30 minutes. The maximum exposure to magnetic flux radiation by the ICNIRP guidelines is 30 minutes. So consequently, if you drive your electric car for more than 30 minutes, you've just breached the guideline. Now, the guideline, I call it the Pirates Code. We know that radiation levels significantly less than that cause neurological disorders or a precursor to cancers, cause reactive oxygen species, DNA damage. So you're sitting in an electrical vehicle that fits within the ICNIRP guidelines, but only for 30 minutes. 30 minutes. That guideline is unsafe, and that's just been proven in a court of law in Italy, where an Italian court, one of the senior higher courts in Italy, has found against the ICNIRP, and they've said It is an industry-funded body, and the research and the information they're putting out cannot be relied upon. In fact, if you go to ICNIRP's website, it actually states clearly the information they put out is not to be relied upon, but we've got governments around the world relying on this information to say that this equipment's safe. I can tell you it is not. I'll explain that. The ICNIRP guidelines allow for an emission 1 milliwatt for 6 minutes max. But that 1 milliwatt transmitter emits radiation at 61 electron volts in air. 61 electron volts in air, I charge air at 20 electron volts, so that transmitter would charge the air in its near locality. The densification of 5G, you'll have a lot more of the toxicity, the gassing of the air in a cityscape. And then what happens? But the ICNIRP guidelines only for 6 minutes. These 5G transmitters, 4G transmitters, 3G transmitters, they're on 24/7. Who goes out and can't, you know, so you go out and you put your mobile phone on and it doesn't work because the guidelines, sorry, it's not a standard, the guideline says that you can only be exposed for 6 minutes. The whole thing is a complete and total fraud, and they know it's a fraud, and the fraud was committed so that somebody, somewhere, somehow wants to commit genocide on the world's population. This is a bigger crime than 9/11. It's a larger crime than the Holocaust. It makes the Holocaust look like a sideshow. Looks like a sideshow, and we're starting to see it playing out in Wuhan province, one of the first 5G test bed for 5G in China.
So it looks like these symptoms are just going to increase, and what it looks like they're going to do is continue to use viruses as a cover-up. I know, continue to use infection as a cover-up. Meanwhile, you know, who knows what's in the vaccines that they're continuing to push, and it just exacerbates the whole problem. And so it seems like the first population of people that's going to get taken out are the people who just love all of the technology, right? You got your electric car, you got your phone, you have no idea about how dangerous it is. You're the first group of people to get the 5G phone. This is going to be the first generation that gets wiped out, and it's completely the unaware people, you know?
Absolutely. Yeah. They're going to be they'll be sterilized. They'll have suffer significant neurological disorders, probably commit suicide. So they'll not be having any children. They'll commit suicide. That's a way to decrease the population. One of the things that a lot of people have to understand, the International Bank of Settlement, on every death certificate that your government supplied to the International Bank of Settlement, they get a payment. Now that payment is a lot higher. Obviously, if you've been working for a number of years, you build up those skill sets, you have a large value. If I kill you before you get to your pension age, where you've saved up all this money in the international banking system, then obviously you have a higher value. So if I kill you before you hit your pension age, then obviously the government make a lot of money. And that's another
That's
issue.
very dark right there. That's very dark, because of course the banks are always looking for the best way to increase profit, and so just give them the technological ability to take out a person at the right time, and that just means more of a bottom line for them. So, and you know, they don't think with any kind of heart. They're not thinking with any kind of humanity. So
it's all about the money. It's all about it's pound, shillings, and pence. You're a traded commodity on the international markets. Is all. You know, when you get your birth certificate, you're a traded commodity on the international markets. A lot of people don't understand that. You are just a matter of basically a traded commodity by your government, your state apparatus. If I kill you before you get to 65, then obviously this Bank of International Settlement, I get a big payout. Consequently, why would I want to pay your pension? And isn't it strange how we've got governments forcing people into these, putting money into pensions, and then knowingly, they know you're not going to be the beneficiary of that pension, but they are. But this gets worse, because, you know, so some devious characters sit in a room. What they haven't taken into consideration, and I say this to everybody, they need maintaining significantly. if I kill the workforce, the experienced workforce at a nuclear facility, and that reactor starts to overheat, and the pump systems fail, something else fails, I haven't got the capacity or the equipment or the people, the expertise to keep that reactor cool. What's going to happen? That reactor is going to then melt down. If it punches a hole through into the water table, you've got ions into the atmosphere, a bit like Chernobyl. Now, Chernobyl was arrested. They arrested the burnout because the Russians, some very, very brave Russians, put hundreds of tons of lead, dropped ingots in from helicopters above the reactor. They could see it and they were dropping the lead in to cool it down, to stop it from hitting the water table. If it had hit the water table, it would have killed hundreds of millions of people in Europe. Hundreds of millions. That's just one reactor. Now, what happens when you take out all of the skill sets of all those reactor workers right across the world? What happens when you lose 2 reactors? What happens if you lose 3? The toxicity level in air from ionizing radiation, it will kill all biological life. So what I'm saying to people who've been promised that you're going to go underground while this weapon system does its dirty work, this nirvana where there's probably 500 million people left on the planet, because that's what that plan is. Think again, you've been hoodwinked, because nothing to come back out. You never come out of that hole in the ground. In fact, if you're stupid enough to go underground into a bunker with an ideological schemer who wants to kill 6 billion of the world's population, and you're stupid enough to go underground, believe us, that's exactly what they're going to do, because they are the target. This is all about wealth and money. So you're sort of your Bill Gates types, they think they're running the show. Well, guess what? They're not. They target their wealth that the cabal want, because this is a spiritual war, orchestrated by the devil, right? Whatever you want to call him, you know, it comes in a number of different guises. This is a takedown of all biological life. All of the creators work. That's what this plan is. And obviously, if you're part of that creator, so if people think they're not, believers, you're going to suffer greatly. And I believe the whole thing in China is a kickback. I think it's happened by chance. Well, not by chance. I believe the creator has rained down this attack on the country, the facilitating country. It's a shame about the people in China who are going to suffer this. But if you look at their government, the government in the Chinese country is the facilitator of the international banks where they're putting this equipment. All the 5G equipment comes out of Shenzhen, Guangdong, Wuhan. Those areas are the biggest facilitators of the equipment being installed across the rest of the world.
Wow. That is amazing. And so in terms of defense, I mean, this show is called Alkalize to Realize, and with everything we talked about, what this does is just give more perspective into why you want to alkalize the body. Okay, because this is what we're up against. It's not just about diet and losing weight. It's about like doing things to keep up your health and stay hydrated would you say is one of our biggest defenses then against what we're up against and waking up? Right?
Well, your diet in particular, if you don't have a very good diet and you get hit with this type of radiation, obviously it's going to kill you a little bit more quickly. However, it's going to kill you anyway. What I'm going to say to people, this is a spiritual war. What we have to do, we draw a battle line. Either go with a controller and die, or you join the resistance, fight back, prophesize what's going on. Prophesize what's going on, be part of the offensive resistance against it and survive. Don't go with a controller and die. I mean, I see police officers, they're walking around with tetra, and they've got it strapped here. The antenna's next to their thyroid. So the more they work on that thing. Now, if I then pull a 5G transmission network, So they've got transmitters. They're already suffering a great deal. A lot of police officers committing suicide. A lot of them suffering serious neurological and mental health problems. They then have this toxicity. If I then bring the overburden of 5G into that cityscape, well, obviously, they're going to be the first to die. And they're the ones who are supporting the facilitation of this equipment. They're the ones that are protecting the cabal as we speak.
Wow.
So they need to wake up. They need to wake up now because they are most certainly at the front of the queue to die.
Mm-hmm.
They die. They're at the front of the queue, and this is what throws this whole thing on its head. It's like the intelligence agencies in the military. These weapon systems, the over-the-horizon weapon systems, in Gateshead, we've got, I was talking about before about these battlefield weapon programs where the elements in, it's basically a radiator with a significant number of elements.
Mm-hmm.
In the radiator, the more punch out, the more focused, the more lethal the weapon can be. Now, I've got 31,875 ground-based, mains-powered elements in a little place called Gateshead. 31,000. Each one of those elements, 25 milliwatt, the manufacturer says, but that's not the case. That's just a fabrication in the sub-gigahertz. So I've got all those elements. I can use that as a mass array to fire off an aluminium, an ionosphere blanket. I can put some aluminium in there. I can focus that up and take out, subdue a city somewhere else in the world.
Talking about massive crowd control. Massive crowd control.
It's massive. Well, it subdues the behavior of people anyway. And if you've got people who are feeling sick or they've got cancer, they're not very fighting.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. All right, so we have reached our hour mark, and I want to ask you, is there anything that you do that we haven't talked about in your own life to protect yourself against these types of attacks and these types of waves?
There are some mitigating technologies. There's some small generators, the Schumann resonator and generators. There's a number of bits and things you can get, but they're not a panacea. They do not fix 5G. The only thing that fixes 5G is for the people to wake up and take the criminals who are behind it. This is in breach of the law. The law's on our side. God is behind us. God doesn't want to see these criminals destroy all biological life, his creation on this planet. So unfortunately for the cabal, and who can be against us when God is with us? That is just, I would hate to be fighting against the good guys when God's behind them, because we've seen that before. Some very, very small numbers have overwhelmed some massive forces when God is behind the people.
So when you look at it from that perspective, we are powerful because we are on the side of God and we are on the side of nature, and so we're not alone in that sense. We have a lot backing us up in this activation.
Well, you can't get any bigger backup than the big fella. You can't get any bigger backup than God. I mean, we win this. It's why, a lot of people say to me, isn't it depressing what he's talking about? I see this as a massive opportunity to overcome the ills that have been visited upon mankind for so many years on the environment, on people who've been subdued. They've been basically put into slavery through a lack of knowledge, ignorance. But what I say to people today, ignorance will kill you. It's time to wake up, do your research, watch the 5G Apocalypse documentary, get involved with the Save Us Now group, set one up in your locality, get involved. That's God's party. Save Us Now, the red and white poppy. It's all symbology. It is the sun, S-U-N, Save Us Now. The sun is rising, waking humanity from their sleep. You're a dead entity. You're classed as a dead entity by the government, by the people who have enslaved you. You're classed as a dead person, as a corpse. You're a non-entity. What we're saying is, wake up, see the light, see the sun. It's all in the universal forces. The sun is waking humanity up.
Yep.
And we have to go on the offensive.
Sun gazing, right?
Sun gazing, yeah.
All right. So my signal is starting to like shake out. I guess there's more people coming in the building. So, you know, I'm going to go ahead and I just want you to give the people any way that they can contact you or get a hold of any material that you're writing, anything like that. Any kind of contact connection.
The website is saveusnow.org.uk. Obviously look for that. We've got a red and white poppy. That's quite symbolic. We've also got the rising sun. So we've got the sun. It is the sun. Save Us Now. S-U-N. Save Us Now. So people can get involved. They can actually contact us. They can get emails. What people have to remember, we've been in this fight for over 3 years now. We've been in business for over 3 years. So we've got all the tactics. We've got the legal case. We've actually got the funding. We've got a crowdfunder. We've got a crowd justice funder, so that will bring the resources in so we can take these characters into the courts and bring justice to the world. Justice will be done. Justice will be served to the heaven. That's a very, very famous saying, and that's what we'll call the crowd justice fund. And that was actually said by the judge when he repealed slavery. Let justice be done though the heavens fall. Very famous saying. And we use that because that's God's words. This is God's law. We win this. We smash these cabal. We smash these criminals because that's all they are. We are above them. They are not above us. We are above them.
Oh my goodness. I so much agree. And you know what? As dark as this whole thing was, I just feel empowered because, you know, knowing truth empowers you. And sometimes it does take such a serious issue to be the catalyst because people are dumbed down so much that this might just be the thing that they need to realize that, you know what, it's not what we thought. You know, we thought that 9/11 was going to be it. We thought that all these other things were going to be it. You know what, 5G has to be it because it can't be anything else, right?
It can't be anything else. I keep hearing, you know, people talking about 6G, 7G. Look, there's nothing after 5G. Nothing after 5G. We stopped 5G and we stopped 5G in 2020. We do not go into 2021 with this equipment. Otherwise, what's going to happen? You're going to see billions of people dead. I've just watched a video there this morning from a Chinese guy stating that there's 50,000 dead. It's not the numbers that are coming out. They've actually sacked the governor of the area, Wuhan. They've been hiding the figures. 50,000. They've got incinerators burning 24 hours a day. 24 hours a day. Gateshead Council opened up a super morgue next to an incinerator, so they know what's going on. They know exactly what's going on. They're gearing up here, ready for the same attack. Unfortunately for them, we're too early.
Yep. So we're going to stop. This is going to be the turning point.
Well, it's going to be great to see what's happening in the US, because the US, I think the lead point country in the world is going to be the US. I mean, obviously, we've got, you know, the UK government is controlled to the max, whereas obviously we'll see some of the things that are going in the US here. Very, very interesting times. But it is time to go on the offensive. It is time to fight back. You are fighting for your life. I'll say it again. I mean it. I'm not making this stuff up. Do your research. Everything I say, this is the word. I only speak the truth. Can't tell lies. That's why it doesn't sound very good. I'm not telling you anything other than what it is. It doesn't sound good, but be empowered by these words. Empower yourself and use the tool to go on the offensive.
Mark Steele, I want to thank you so much for being on. Hopefully we'll have you on again in the future, and we're going to continue to increase awareness and inform the people. So thank you so much for joining.
Thanks, mate.
All right.
Thanks for everybody.
Cheers.
Cheers.
We alkalize to realize the body is the temple, water is the source of life. We breathe in life and then we synthesize. This liquid sun will free your glands and begin to decalcify. Peer through your third eye, see through the lies and give your body what it's missing. We dehydrated, and that's the human condition. But when you clean the body and believe the body, you set yourself up to receive the body. See, it's a sharp knife, that's the water of life. It's like a sword cutting parasites down the sides. It takes a certain kind of faith to know that you're divine. And if it comes from urethra, then it's alkaline. We serve in truth, and it don't matter how weird it really gets. It's the linchpin ascended masters to initiates. We alkalize to realize. Open your mind and find you had it inside this whole damn time. We alkalize to realize. Open your mind and find you had it inside this whole damn time. You had it inside this whole damn time.